In this really quick video, I just want to talk to you very quickly about something called statistical significance. And this is something that's going to be quite important in your campaign when it comes to making decisions based on the data in your account. So as you can see, I'm here in Google and I've searched for statistical significance calculator. I'm just going to go to the top result here, which is the AB significance test by getdatadriven.com. And as you can see, they've got a nice little calculator here for testing statistical significance. And what this allows us to do is, it allows us to insert data from our A/B tests. So for A here and B, these could be the two ads that we were looking at in our last video. Now if you'll remember, in the last video we discussed the click-through rates of ads, and we discussed one ad having a 3% click-through rate and one ad having a 2% click-through rate, which I've just demonstrated here by adding 30 clicks and 20 clicks compared to 1,000 impressions. Now one thing I should just point out at this point is the column headings that are used here on getdatadriven.com. So here it says the number of visitors on this page and the number of overall conversions, and then it says conversion rate for the results column. However, in this example, I'm using the first column for impressions and the second for clicks. And you really can sort of use this for any data. We could use it for impressions and conversions, clicks and conversions. It doesn't really matter. The point is for testing the variations between two separate ads. So in this example, we have a 3% click-through rate over here on the top ad and a 2% one on the other ad. So if we look to the results over here, you can see that test A converts 50% better than test B. So the calculator is 92% certain, and below it does say that it's questionable whether your results are statistically significant. And this is due to the calculator usually wanting to see a 95% confidence. However, personally, if I see it over 90%, that's usually enough for me to be happy with that. Okay, so for these two ads here then, the click-through rate tells us that the ad with 30 clicks is definitely the best ad. And if these two ads both had the same amount of conversions, this would be a position where we could quite confidently turn off ad B. However, if you remember in the last video, we mentioned that just because something has a high click-through rate, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to convert better. And we gave the example of the ad with the 2% click-through rate having 4 conversions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the impressions here to the clicks, and I'm going to add in the 4 conversions here. So that gives us 20 clicks on the ad that generated 4 conversions, which is a 20% conversion rate. Then we also discussed that the other ad could have a 3% click-through rate, which in this case would be 30 clicks, but only generated 1 conversion. Now we can see here that the tables have completely turned. So our ad with the highest click-through rate now only has a 3% conversion rate, and our ad with the lower click-through rate has a 20% conversion rate. And if we look at our results again, test B converted 500% better than test A. So we are 96% certain that the changes in test B will improve your conversion rate. So this is telling us that the A/B test is statistically significant and that ad B is definitely the better ad in terms of conversion. So in this example, we would definitely pause the ad with the higher click-through rate because the conversions just aren't there. Now, I just want to show you how quickly things can change with this calculator. So on the ad at the top here, where we have 1 conversion, let's just change that to 2. So that would put our conversion rate up to 7%. And as we can see over here, 91%. So for me personally, it's still within the acceptable range where I would still deem that to be the low performing ad. However, if we change it again and go up to 3, even though that means that we still have double the conversion rate over here, it still is only 1 more conversion. And over here it says that test B converted 100% better than test A, and they are 93% certain that the change in test B will improve your conversion rate. So for me personally, this is not enough. And I'll tell you why. Because 1 more conversion can completely change it. Even though this is converting better, because this is a higher click-through rate, this has got the same amount of conversions. 1 more, and it's still got a lower conversion rate, but it has more conversions. And, you know, the confidence here just keeps going down and down and down. So The point I'm trying to make here is you should definitely be using something like this significance test to help you make decisions, because sometimes you might make decisions too hastily. You may decide that one ad has had 2 conversions and another ad has had 1 conversion, so the ad with 2 conversions is better. But for all we know, the second ad with only 1 conversion could have 2 conversions the next day, and all of a sudden that's the best ad. So the point is, when we do pause ads and when we do make decisions, we want that to be based on fact, not just what we assume is going to happen. I hope you found the video useful, and I will see you in the next video.